Conference Open. Justin, you're making your third appearance in the tournament. Most recently, you played the U.S. Open last year, but haven't been back at the Farmer since 2015. Thoughts on being back this week?
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. It's I jokingly told my dad, playing the U.S. Open here, I was like, I really like this golf course. I don't know why I don't play more. It's just one of those things, and the scheduling, it hadn't worked out, and playing two golf courses is obviously a little bit more difficult, but great part about this place, my first ever PGA Tour top 10 was here, so I definitely have a lot of great memories, and hopefully we keep getting weather like this. It's pretty tough to beat this place.
Making your fourth start of the season, 2 top 5 so far, your form going into the week.
Yeah, it feels good. And that's the thing about this place is that you can't necessarily fake it around. You just have to drive the ball well. You have to hole out well. Make a lot of those putts 4, 5, 6 footers on these Poa annua greens get really, really bumpy and can be tough to kind of get the ball in the hole sometimes. So it's just one of those things. You kind of have to take whatever you have at that moment out on the golf course and just try to make the best out of whatever conditions you're playing in.
All right, we're going to open up to questions. A reminder, if you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get a mic over to you. First, we'll start with Dan Rappaport, Golf Digest, back right.
Hey, JT, with this being the first week that the Netflix cameras are on site, knowing that you agreed to participate in the show, what went into your thought process as to agreeing to participate, and how do you see their presence factoring into your process throughout the year?
In terms of the presence, I did it because I don't want them to have any impact. Anything, as soon as it becomes a burden or as soon as it becomes a hindrance in my preparation or anything that is involved in me trying to get as prepared as I can to win a golf tournament, then I'll be done with it. That's just how I want it to be. I want it to be an opportunity for, on the golf course stuff is very obvious. Everybody sees the footage of us in practice rounds on Golf Channel or then us in a tournament, so I don't think that stuff's going to be anything groundbreaking, but just the fun different things that people wouldn't necessarily see. They might see a picture or video on Instagram of me hitting balls at home or me working out, but maybe not through an entire club fitting or through a session with my dad and I or just, me just drinking beer with my buddies watching football. It's just like there's a lot of different aspects that I think will be great for not only myself but guys to give people a little better understanding of who we are and grow our brand a little bit.
And then on a totally unrelated note, you mentioned the Poa greens and the difficulties and the 5 to 6 footers. Do you change your strategy on the putts? Do you hit them a little harder, pay more break, or how do you deal with that?
I don't. If anything, I might even hit them a little softer, just to use the entire hole more, because it's, when greens are pure, you can kind of make the ball do what you want. You can take less breakout. Now you can still do it here, but because of the ball bouncing so much, it's not always going to go exactly where you want it to go. So I feel like strategy that I used at the U.S. Open, and I putted beautifully, was that just try to, on those longer putts, always take the higher lines. Try to make sure it's kind of staying around the hole, because you can miss a 2-footer out here like that. It's hard to explain. Anybody that's played Poa annua knows what I'm talking about, but it's just it's really just kind of taking kind of like I said earlier, the conditions of the greens for what they are, and just being committed to whatever you do decide.
We're going to go over here to the left, Ryan Labner.
Just to follow up on what Dan was saying there, I think a lot of golf fans are obviously pretty excited about the documentary series. There's also some skepticism that PGA Tour players tend to be pretty image conscious. I'm just curious, from your perspective, do you feel like yourself and your peers will open themselves up enough in a way to be revealing in new ways for golf fans?
It's a good question. I think, everybody's going to be different. You know what I mean? It's, I don't plan on being any different person than I am. There could be guys that maybe try to act different or do something different just to appeal or I don't know. You definitely have your guys that are more interesting than others, and me during an off week isn't really a whole lot of fun. It's pretty basic, but then again, at times I do some stuff, but then there's guys, they're home, they go out in their boat all the time, they do whatever, but I don't know. I think I mean, I think it's just a great opportunity for, you know, the Harry Higgs of the world, the Joel Damon, that are great, absolutely ridiculous human beings that have such great hearts, but they're so funny to be around that they deserve a spotlight for the kind of people that they are. And I think, you know, their sense of humor is going to come out.
And then totally different, you probably saw Rahm's video over the weekend about the conditions. I'm just curious, where do you fall on PGA Tour wanting to have a super entertaining product with a lot of roars and excitement and birdies, while also testing players like yourself who are the best players on the planet?
I mean, it's frustrating to me because it's, you know, like people were going crazy about Kapalua, and they're saying the golf course setup's so easy. And it's like, look, I don't know how many times I have to say it. If you give us soft greens and you give us no wind, we are going to shoot nothing. It doesn't matter if the course is 8,000 yards, we're going to find a way to shoot 20 under par. I mean, if we have such good control over how far the ball goes and the kind of spin we can put on it. And then you give us soft greens to where if we do miss a green, it's easier to get up and down and there's no wind. Like, it's just, it's easy. And, those courses are very, very scoreable. I mean, the scores are always low there in the past, but I just think you have to take what you have for what it's worth, you know, each week. I mean, you get a week like this, and if we get a little wind one day and the greens get even firmer and faster, I mean, the scores are gonna be higher. And, you know, if we get some rain and they soften up and there's no wind, they're gonna be lower. That's just the way that it is. It's not like the tour's setting up the course every day saying, all right, we want, you know, 18 under to win this week. Let's put the pins easy. It's like we know every single week pretty much where the 4 pins are going to be. And they're the same every year. It's just a matter of what the conditions of the golf course are like.
Go over here, front right.
Do you have a preference if you're going to be a part of, you know, a soft course, an easy course, for maybe trying to grind it out like this being, you know, a U.S. Open course? Do you have a preference for what you'd rather be a part of?
I mean, I like to think that I would prefer the harder golf course, but I've had a lot of success on the easier golf courses. So I don't know. I mean, you're more I would say less amount of guys have a chance to win on a harder golf course, harder, firmer golf course. It exposes bad shots, you know, golf ball control, spin control, stuff like that. Whereas when it's softer, you know, it's just the way that it is. So, you know, if it was my life depended on it and I had to win a golf tournament, I mean, I'd probably choose TPC Kuala Lumpur, but other than that, you know, it is what it is, and you have to make the best out of wherever you are.
Going from Kapalua, where you talk about the scores being crazy low, to now being in this event, again, a U.S. Open course. I saw the rough looks pretty long. What's the week of preparation like, or at least for you, just what do you go through mentally coming off of such low scores to knowing that there might be, you know, if the wind is up, you're going to have to grind out here this week?
Yeah, you're going to have to grind it no matter what. I mean, both courses have their fair share of difficult holes and long holes, and you hit a lot of, you know, 4, 5, 6 irons, and that doesn't happen too often on tour for us. So, I mean, you just have to prepare for each week for what it is. I mean, at home last week, I knew I was going to hit a lot of drivers like I do on the South course, and hit, you know, a fair amount of mid to long irons and a lot of short putts, because like I said, if you hole out well here, it's going to be a huge advantage. And that's just kind of, you know, in Kapalua, I hit a lot of wedges. So it's all of us have different forms of preparation, but that's at least mine.
We're good in the middle with Bryce Miller, Union Tribune.
John Rahm was asked this earlier today and had some interesting thoughts. Patrick Reed is the defending champ here. He won pretty easily by 5 strokes, but all the talk was really about an embedded ball situation in the 3rd round. Just to understand his game better from a player's perspective who sees it, does that noise kind of that he finds himself in routinely overshadow his game?
Probably depends who you ask. I mean, I think his success and amount of wins and everything he's done speaks for itself. You know, the stuff that's happened otherwise is what it is, and it's in the past. And but you know, you can't take away the fact he's a Masters champion and the fact he's won however many times he's won. And I mean, I don't know if there's anybody I'd want on tour other than him with with a wedge and putter in their hand. I mean, he gets up and down from everywhere. So I understand what you're saying, but I really just think it kind of depends on who you ask more than anything.
Go back to Steve.
Just, I was curious, when you first thought about approaching Bones, did you think it'd be tough to talk him out of retirement?
To be honest, no, I didn't. I know we had a great time when he caddied for me a couple years ago, and I shouldn't say I didn't think it would be really easy, but I didn't feel like I was going to have to get on my hands and knees and beg. It was just going to be more of like a, hey, dude, I want you to, and I know he wants to, but at the end of the day, every decision needs to be a little selfish, and if it made sense for him, then it would make sense for us, and I'm glad that it did.
And how has it gone since he came to your bag?
It's been great. It's like a new relationship. You're always wanting to do something to get it better. We're talking quite often. We're not as much anymore versus the first handful of events. What did I do this week that I could do better next week? What did I do that you didn't like, or what? And now we're just getting comfortable enough where we're just kind of go, and he knows my tendencies, I know his, and he was with his old boss for a really long time, and I was with Jimmy for a long time, and you get used to how the pro and the caddy acts, or just their mannerisms and stuff, and now we're kind of getting, we still have a long ways to go, but we're getting more and more comfortable.
Go to the left on Kira.
Going off of what Steve said, Bones told me at, I think, your first event together that you were the only person that he would come back for. Did you know that he was talking about you in that way?
I did. I didn't want to say that, though, so. So, yes, I did know that it was going to be easy, Steve, because he told me that.
Well, I thought it was very nice of him to say. And then just one other thing. I believe you've only played this event twice, and of course, obviously the U.S. Open coming to Torrey. Why has this not made it onto the calendar more often?
Just all for schedule. In the past, I've fortunately in Kapalua, and then I've played Sony, and then I've just usually taken 2 weeks off, I think it is, and then I feel like it's gone Phoenix, and then or maybe this, then I don't know what it was, but it was something to where I could go 2 weeks off after Sony and then play Phoenix. And just to me, it seemed like it was a lot to go Kapalua, Sony, week off, Torrey, Phoenix. I didn't want to hate golf like 5 weeks into the the calendar year. So it just worked out well this week. If not playing Sony, and if I didn't play here, I'd take 4 weeks off or whatever it was after Kapalua. And like I said, after playing the U.S. Open, I remembered how much I liked this golf course. So I'm glad it worked out.
We're going to go back to Dan over here on the right.
Knowing it is the same golf course, but conditions versus June super different. Do you just kind of throw the yardage book out and treat it as a new course, or do you take some confidence or some information from the U.S. Open?
A little here and there, I think, or a little bit of both. I just think, it's getting close to having a little fire to it. The fairways are really good. It's close to kind of getting the brown, you know what I mean, just with the great weather they've had. But in terms of the greens are totally different in terms of the speeds. The firmness, you got a little bit there, but not the same. The rough wasn't crazy at the U.S. Open. It was very, very spotty like it is now. You have some places that are long, and you have some that are like a first cut. So you got a lot of luck involved in something like that. But, course knowledge is still course knowledge. Lines off of tees and slopes here and there. That stuff's always going to help.
And then it feels like there's like 5 different tournaments that could be considered the start of the golf year. For whatever reason, this seems to be one of them. Do you look at it as the season? Do you look at it as 2022? What starts your year? Or do you not even think of it as years?
Yeah, I don't think of it. I would say the closest thing I probably could would be Kapalua, but you got to earn your way there. So I can't necessarily look at that, each year saying that is the start of the year. I got to get there first.
All right. Any last questions for Justin? All right. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck this week.
Thanks.